Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby!
Who is up?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Grab your mother and kiss her square on the lips because we're discussing 1992's Sleepwalkers, which was written by Stephen King, but not based on any book by Stephen King. This week, our buddy Kyle is joining us to have a picnic in the graveyard and dance our asses off in a movie theater on Horror Movie Night. This one was actually a listener requested. This is the last one that is a listener requested, and it was requested not once, but twice. So I'm going to read both of them real quick. The first one is from a Geekscape legend known as Big Yanks, who wrote, Stephen King's Sleepwalker. With all of that Game of Thrones dragon incest going around, why not delve into some cat creature incense and corn cop kebabs? The other email we got was from Robbie in Texas. She said, hello from Texas. I love listening to y'all. My film suggestion would be called Sleepwalkers. It's a rather silly film from the 90s, and I'm sure it would be hilarious to hear your feelings on it. Looking forward to the reviews every week. Stay awesome. So thank you, Dan and Robbie, for your emails and for making us watch this movie, which I'm going to go off on a ledge and say my favorite of the movies this month.
Whoa.
I will say this. You know me, every time I have to watch a movie, I get really fucking angry and miserable. And I think this is the first movie for this podcast that I watched alone that I had a lot of fun watching. Like, I always have fun riffing on them with you guys, but it is just like getting teeth pulled to watch the movies. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
I had messaged Scott at one point and basically said that Sleepwalkers was as if Stephen King was like, okay, so in about 20 years, there's going to be a thing called podcasting. And one of the popular things with podcasting is going to be making fun of these movies that are just unexplainably weird. So I'm going to make a movie just for those guys.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense for this movie to exist except to be talked about on podcasts by people.
Yeah, this was awful.
It was so weird because when you told me that when you tapped me to do Sleepwalkers, I was really excited because I had it on my desk. I sent you a picture. I had it on my desk ready to watch like that day just to have in the background.
That's so weird.
It was so weird. And so like you hit me up and you're like, yeah, we're going to do this one. We want you on the show. And I was like, oh, good. So now I have to wait longer to watch it. So it just sat on my desk.
You're welcome. Like no one wants you want an excuse to not watch Sleepwalkers.
Well, I've had it on my shelf. It was one of those movies I've had on the shelf for I don't know how long. Like I got it because I was like, yeah, Stephen King, and of course the DVD cover advertises the cameos of Clive Barker and Stephen King because they have not much else to advertise on. Like they have Cats and Haunted House, Stephen King, and those cameos.
And Toby Hooper didn't get his little. Didn't get advertised as well.
No. It was only Clive and Steven, my buddies.
Or John Landis.
You're missing, John Landis.
Yeah,
Joe Dante.
I was like, there's other sweet cameos in here. Why is these the two that we're advertising on the DVD cover? Like, you have enough space. Like, it wasn't like cover up the whole poster with the cameos that you're advertising. I don't know.
I don't want to jump ahead, but Stephen King's cameo was fucking hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
So bad. He is such a bad actor. He knows one character.
Yeah. It's the same fucking character he was in Creepshow. But the thing is that he gets to be
Graveyard.
coroner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, it was the graveyard caretaker.
Owner, I guess.
yeah. But the thing is that like that's the most screen time, except for Creepshow, I think he's ever given himself. It is obscenely long.
Yeah.
It's just him walking around saying the same line.
I was dying. I was fucking dying. That was awesome.
All right, so the movie opens up with a definition of a sleepwalker, which apparently is a vampire, despite all of the werewolf things that happen in this movie. So we open in California, and everyone is just like way too calm to be standing directly outside a house that has about a holocaust of dead cats dangling outside of it. Like, everyone.
You're missing the first person we fucking see in this movie is Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Wait, so was it? Because I wrote Dollar Store Mark Hamill because I couldn't find his name in the IMDb credits.
I scoured IMDb for it because I turned this on. I have never seen it before, and I'm like, is that Mark Hamill with the mustache? And so I'm like, oh my god! And so I go through everyone on IMDb, and he's uncredited. It says uncredited cop or something like that. That's Mark Hamill with the mustache. He's riding high off of the Guyver.
I was gonna say, just stepped right off the set of the Guyver and into the opening scene of Sleepwalkers.
Yeah, and he still can't act. Like this is his I can't act.
Oh
era.
man, it was horrible. Horrible.
So they find this little girl's corpse, which shrieks as it falls out of the closet. Like, but it is very much dead. But like,
Yeah.
it falls out of the closet. It's like, ah! Like on the way down.
Like it was some like home haunt that like they walked into. They forgot it was October.
Yeah, like the way that they made that noise, I thought they were going to be like, oh, it's just a mannequin. Like there's no other explanation for the noise. But then it cuts to the intro, which is just some of the craziest drawings and pictures of like cat people or like a cat woman breastfeeding a baby kitten. Like it is insanity. But then we hear probably my favorite part of the whole movie, the fact that we get to hear Sleepwalk like 5 times in this movie, because God, that is a great song.
I mean, when that's the highlight of your movie, it's not saying much about your movie.
This is true. So we meet our main villain, Charles, and he's cutting himself while staring at a picture of Tanya, who is very cute in the yearbook.
Can I just read from here to the point where I get up to speed on what this movie is, my reactions? Because I don't
Wait,
read.
you got up to speed on what this movie is?
Like I don't. So I'll read it because I don't look up movies. You guys tell me to watch them, and I just watch them. So this is my notes up until I kind of figure out what's going on. He's got a heart circle around her yearbook picture and carving the first initial of her name in his arm. This is fucked up. This dude's like a serial killer. This woman is much older than him. Oh shit, it's his mom. That's extremely inappropriate. They're way too close. Wait, I'm lost. Is this or is this not his mom he's currently making out with? What the fuck is going on? What did I miss? God, I hope that's not his mom. Girl dancing.
Oh wait, don't go there. Stop there, because I want to talk about that for a second.
Oh,
I know we're about to get. So meanwhile, Charles's mom, in quotes, is just staring at these cats outside, real concerned like. And then Charles and her have a very, very intimate dance in the kitchen.
I did not see the kissing coming. Oh my god.
Up until this point, I was positive the movie took place in the 50s.
Right.
Until you heard like the 80s version of Do You Love Me? And man, that dance sequence, like we need to talk about this dance sequence.
You know how you vacuum.
She is like going to town like it is girls' night at the club, and she's just vacuuming the movie theater.
Dude, it was wild. It was like, that was as far as I had seen into the movie, the last time I'd ever tried to watch it, however, 5 years ago or whatever, like whenever I had it. And I only got up to there and I was like, oh, this is too much for me. Between really questioning if that's his mom, because like I was also like really hoping, I was like, that might be a ploy. Like that might not be his mom. This might be a disguise or like some weird character thing. And then that dance being so wholesome, I was like, I don't know.
But then he carries her upstairs to fuck.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that wasn't the case.
Yeah, he just went to go bang his mom.
Yeah, I was really hoping he's like, mom just needs help up the stairs.
Jesus Christ, this movie. Stephen King has a lot of shit to work through, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say the only cool, like, I felt that Mick Garris like really just put us into there just so we had to like deal with it. Like in the realm of this world, somehow this is normal, and like we're just there, and we have to just deal with the consequences of this weird normalcy that's not normal in any sense of the word. So it's just like we're just stuck there.
So here's a weird thing though, like, and this is gonna sound like complete insanity trying to like justify the incest in this movie, but like, is incest normal among like cats and among like other animals like that?
Oh, that's a good question, because there did seem to be some like allusion to like this. There's some sort of science in their folklore. You know what I mean? Like there's some sort of truth somewhere in the folklore of a sleepwalker. But
What?
I don't know.
I sure didn't catch that. Like I watched the same movie, right?
Yeah, well, like, but their true form is the cat creature. Like the human skin is the fake form, because like you see when they're in the mirror, you see the cats. Like like they're but I don't know. It's very confusing.
We're really just trying to make it work.
Yeah, I don't know the rules on like regular cats. I did watch a lion documentary once because that's what my life has come to at this point. And when they have male cubs, the father actually disowns them after like a few months because they will eventually become competition.
Oh,
So male tigers are on their own because they will fuck their mother, and the dad will get jealous.
Sleepwalker.
So maybe that's why this movie is the way it is.
So Charles flirts real hard with Tanya, and then he walks home, and he's walking home to an Enya song.
Yeah.
But it's the Enya song that the Fugees sample in Ready or Not. So every time I heard it, I was like, where's Lauryn Hill? Where's that hook coming? Like, I'm so ready for it.
Oh, God. Hey, before we go beyond the theater, I had to mention something. There's a sushi sign at the concession stand.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Who's like at the theater? Well, first of all, I don't know how it is in California, but it's the 90s. I don't think that sushi was that big of a thing in the 90s that it would have
in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah, like who's gonna make you a sushi roll? Are you really gonna trust some teenager with like some pimple-faced teenager to give you popcorn and a sushi roll?
That theater's a goddamn mess. There's no people in any of those theaters, by the way. It was just her working, and there's no movies showing. That's just her job.
Yeah, I love the fact that they are very obviously 30.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
She's pretty, but she is definitely 30.
So let's get to my favorite character and my favorite part in this whole movie. So Charles goes to high school and he reads his confession in exposition class, and his teacher really, really enjoys it. And the teacher's praising him, and it's Otho from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's the guy from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, who's super underappreciated actor in my opinion. Every time he's in a movie, he kills it. But
one of my notes in here literally says, I wish the guy from Beetlejuice was in every movie ever.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
So he is just showering praise on Charles' writing and everything. And then he makes a comment about a box has 4 sides, and Charles goes, actually, a box has 6 sides, and a blood feud has developed.
Right. It was not that funny. Nothing in the world is as funny as that class thought that line was funny.
And
some kid was throwing up.
Well, then they just do the cross. They just do the cross dissolve to him just peering out the window, being like, "That motherfucker got me. He got me good in front of the whole fucking class. He got me."
Oh my god!
But before we go further,
crazy.
I do have to backtrack because I'm still confused at this point, and we go to the point where I'm not as confused. So to continue my notes, this kid's got problems, man. Carving a girl's initials in his arm, fucking someone that may or may not be his mother, and now he's very aggressively hitting on a movie theater chick. Oh, the popcorn girl is Tanya. So was that his mom that he fucked? This movie shouldn't be as confusing as it is. Okay, it is his mom. So he fucks his mom. I think I'm caught up to speed now. What I think is happening is Charles' mom, who he fucks, eats people, and she's famished, so she needs to eat Tanya, who he's in love with. Could be wrong, but that's what I got. Beetlejuice teacher scene. Here we are, up to speed. Now I can enjoy the movie.
It's amazing how you're just kind of like Matt, but with better spelling. Because that thought process is it's so very Kelly of you.
So Charles and Tanya go and hang out at her house after class, and that's where he sees that her mom does gravestone sketches, and he's looking at all of Tanya's photos, and there's a very Star Wars Attack of the Clones type quote where he just goes, "I like rocks." But Tanya and Charles plan that they're going to hang out in the graveyard after school, which they very cleverly are like, oh, because he also loves doing gravestone sketches. So as Charles
Mom calls
leaves,
bullshit,
and Charles
Mom
steps up
calls
to the
bullshit.
plate.
Yeah.
So
I love how his excuse is like, oh, I learned that a long time ago. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because I'm 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where the movie goes from being like bizarre but kind of entertaining to fucking fantastic. So Charles is driving home from Tanya's house and he's blasting like Ugly Kid Joe or Scatterbrain or some other garbage from the 90s like that. And the English teacher pulls him over to confront him. And Charles just straight rips his hand off and attacks him. And like Charles, for being part animal, takes forever to catch a bleeding out fat man. Like it is the longest chase. But this is where we're introduced to the stars of the movie, Andy and his cat Clovis, who
round of applause. Round of applause for him. Holy shit.
Because aside from the incest, Charles is pretty fucking cool. And then the black cop gets thrown in the mix, and it's like this town is like Coolville. Like everyone in this town is so awesome, and I want to be all of their friends.
The quote that I wrote down from Andy is he's going, "Get the bad guy, get the bad guy, get that motherfucker."
I think it's safe to assume all four of us has that as a note because it's one of the best lines in the movie.
Oh, it was.
I
the
do.
best.
It's all
it
in
was the
caps.
absolute best. Yeah. It was the best thing I've ever heard.
That until we get to his little song about Jerry with the one ball, but we're too far.
No, we're gonna get to it right in here. There goes Johnny with a pecker in his hand. He's a one-ball man, and he's off to the rodeo.
And the way that he sings it is that that was just on the fly. Like that was just like as if that song doesn't exist in the real world. He made that shit up to entertain his cat. Like that was for his cat and him.
Well,
nobody else. He doesn't know that we're watching.
Well, and then it cuts back into the car later, and then it's like when you're just angry, but you're like listening to rap music, so you're trying to rap your anger, and he's just like, "Motherfucker, going to get that motherfucker. He's fast, motherfucker." Like he's
just listening to instrumentals, trying to like gear up to freestyle, but he's not good at it, so he just is like he's just revving his goddamn engine. Yeah.
There's this crazy car chase scene where like Charles almost takes down a little girl. The crossing guard saves him, but then he saves the little girl, and then Andy pulls up. He goes, "Is everybody all right?" And he goes, "Get the guy."
Do your job.
Charles and his mom give in to their incestual desires once again, while the cat is waiting outside judging. No. So like it cuts to all these cats and they're staring in, and that's when we have the scene where they're like on top of each other, and then the camera pans ever so slightly, and in the mirror it's like two cat creatures going at.
But we miss one of the comically best scenes, and it's when he tries to go around the car, and there's a big truck there, and the cat meow and and he goes, "Oh shit!"
Oh wait, sorry, we did miss one other part too, where they get side by side. and and Charles looks at Clovis, and then his head just goes full Animorphs all over the place.
Oh,
it's
it's
so
baby
bad.
at one point. It turned to a
That was the only thing that I knew about Sleepwalkers besides that like first 5 minutes, and then I've only seen that GIF on the internet. Like I've seen it posted a few times. So I assumed that was going to be an ending of the movie type thing, because I was like, to me, like that's kind of rad. Like the shape-shifting thing seemed to be like a really cool like endpoint, and it shows up so early. So I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, well, what the fuck's gonna happen?
They can't go up from here.
I was like, I thought this was the coolest shit that I was gonna see. What?
Well, technically, it still was.
It still was. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now you have 40 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to horror movie night.
Yeah.
So then there's this scene. We jump to the scene with Tanya's parents, and it is like straight out of the movie Heathers. Like it's just like them two sitting in the seats, and there's this quick dialogue. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go over to the Charles houses, and like, okay, have fun at Charles houses, and then make sure you're back by 5 for dinner, and like all this thing, and then they just like vanish, and then when they come back, it's kind of just like she walks off, and they're like, what have we become? We're just like our parents now. Like it's a very bizarre scene.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, in the grand scheme of Sleepwalkers, that's what you're calling out as a bizarre scene?
I mean, it's really a collection of bizarre scenes.
Yeah, this movie is an abomination. I just have to go out. Like, I think that we're 20 minutes into the podcast now, and I can just let you know that Jesus Christ, this fucking movie.
I still don't totally get the mythology of this film.
I don't either at all.
Because there's this scene where Tanya shows up at Charles's house, and that just seems like a prime time to do what they need to do. Like, right. I don't know why. It seems very convoluted to also take her on the date and then suck out her life force to give to the mom when they're all there, right there. Like, you could just...
He's trying to be a normal teenager, though, you know? Like, besides fucking his mom and, like, maybe having to kill people. It's like, he's just trying to be a normal teenager.
Yeah, I don't get it either. At first, it made sense because it was like, oh, he likes this girl and he's trying to protect her. But no, he just takes her to the woods to do the same thing in a less secluded place.
Yeah. It was so dumb.
Oh, they slip. They're in the graveyard and she's taking photos. And Tanya's a terrible photographer. The way she takes photos.
Oh, the goddamn worst.
But like she slips and they fall. And you'd think that it was like the As You Wish scene from The Princess Bride with how long this fall is. Like the way the camera's all up close on them as they're just tumbling and rolling. And it's like, it's a flat piece of land. Like it's not even a hill.
Dude, some of the shots in this movie angered me so much. Like when the mom starts slapping him. And it just looks like when the detective falls down the stairs in the original Psycho. Like just that, whoa!
It's bad. But then Charles finally makes the move and starts to suck her life force out and attacks her. And she keeps, throwing things at him and scratching him and throwing a corkscrew in his eye. Which, like, I do like evil Charles the cat person where, like, none of this stuff hurts him. So, like, she jabs him in the eyeball with this corkscrew and he starts going, you got blood on my shirt. Like, it's like very, like it's like that kind of cool, like, oh god, this dude's such a badass. But then the worst thing that could possibly happen in this movie happens, and Andy is killed. And
man,
and I shut it off. Didn't see it.
I got excited because I thought he came back, but it was short lived.
Yeah, it was. But we did get the line "cop kebab" from that scene.
Yes.
And then, as if Andy dying wasn't enough, so like the cat attacks Charles and it forces Charles to run off. And then the cat just sits on Andy's body, and my heart just shattered. Like, I was like, no, he misses him. Like,
this movie's got everything: sadness, relationships, incest, comedy. It's great.
It has everything except for actual horror.
Yeah.
So Charles goes home, and his mom starts to like tend to his wounds, and we've already talked about the
more than one way,
We talked about the Stephen King. Jesus Christ. We talked about the Stephen King and like the giant like carnival of cameo that happens in that scene.
I locked the fence. I can't be responsible for everyone. Go talk to that guy. Okay. I locked the fence. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
That was so good. So good.
Well, I think it's because it just reminds us of one of our uncles, Brian.
Ted.
This scene is very important because Tanya's telling her story and everybody thinks that she's crazy, and then she remembers her camera and she's like, I took a bunch of photos of him, go develop the camera. And like, true to the cops are like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's develop those pictures.
Right? They don't negate that at all.
I also wrote a note I feel a little bit bad about. This is one of the only like not plot-based notes. They could have saved a ton of money on the special effects budget and just cast Ron Perlman as a cat person.
Oh,
Dude's mouth is huge. Like that was like, and I know that like that's common knowledge, but particularly when he's younger and his face is like a little bit thinner and longer and not so like buff, his mouth is huge. Like
He's an
it's insane.
person.
Yeah, it was. He should have been like Papa Sleepwalker that like they keep in the attic and they only let out. Like he should have been the big boss Sleepwalker.
I feel like that's the reason he got the part in Hellboy is like, well, this guy, we just got to glue some horns to his head and paint it red. And it's very minimal special effects needed for his face.
Dude, right?
I think as a kid he was reading Hellboy comics just being like, this was the part I was born to play, baby.
Yeah. Now, Mom, help me lift my head up.
But yeah, so Ron Perlman's in here is like an out of state, like a state cop who everybody dislikes because suddenly it's Super Troopers. And then the mom bashes two cops' heads together and shows up at Tanya's house where she kills the dad and she tosses the mom through the window, which apparently kills her. But I feel like that wouldn't have killed her mom. Like it's not like it was the third or fourth story. It was the first floor. She just went through some glass. She's okay.
I just quickly want to elaborate on the two cops getting their heads bashed together, because when you say that, the image might be something of horror. We're talking a Three Stooges, like clonking of heads, and then they're dead. That's it. Like
that's not the win, man. That's not the win, man.
God, her kill deliveries are horrendous, which leads to the best kill in the movie, which is the chewed up corn on the cob stab in the back.
Oh.
Goes, eat your vegetables if you want dessert. Them's the rules.
That is my last note. That is the last note that I wrote because it's like, there's nothing else I need to write down. I'll riff off everyone else for the rest of the movie, but corn on the cob in the back is the greatest kill.
Oh, it's amazing.
But like, think about this. We did Pet Sematary 2 a couple months back.
Death by Potato.
We got Death by Corn Cob in Sleepwalkers. Stephen King really hates vegetables.
Yeah.
None of them come close to my favorite kill that has ever happened in horror movie night.
Yeah. Invisible Maniac, I know.
Death by Subway Sandwich. So the mom is like Dracula in Monster Squad at this point, where she's just blowing up shit.
Yeah.
She wrecks Ron Perlman. Like Ron Perlman gets probably the most horrific of the deaths, because it's like she bites off his fingers, and then she just like, I think I looked away, and all of a sudden all of his limbs were like broken. Like I don't know what happened, but he looked bad.
Yeah, he got beat up. Horace got off easy. Just a corn on the cob in the back.
And then she drives the cop car through the house. Charles is basically mostly cat here, and then she like starts to make her dance with the cat, and she tries to make Tanya dance with Charles, and it's kind of like that. It's like a scene at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre almost, because he's like barely alive. It's like any scene with Grandpa in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought. I like directly correlated it to Texas Chainsaw Next Gen, which you guys know I fucking love. But
we know that when we eventually are roped into talking that movie, that you're coming back on.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, you guys won't even invite me. I'll somehow pop into the chat and be like, "Oh, I heard you guys were talking about this." But a lot of those late '90s movies have this weird, like, their climax is at like a weird family like gathering. That's
maybe you shouldn't have the word climax and family.
Yeah, you're right. This movie already had it in the first scene, so we're good. I'm bringing up anything new. But like they have that weird, like you're going into a weird family setting and you're just gonna get roped into whatever crazy shit they do. And like that's exactly how I felt. There was plenty of trailers in the early '90s that had movies like that, and I was like, why the fuck is this a trend? Like, why is this happening? American Gothic sort of had it at the late '80s, but like it was like these people just get stuck in weird families, and you have to dance with homeboy. I don't get it.
But because she drove the cat car through the house, it allows an access point for the thousands of cats that have gathered outside of the house. Cats attack and they kill the cat people.
The only problem with Coolsville, USA is how many cats there were, like feral cats there were.
Coolsville. There's only one thing I hate about Coolsville, USA. All the goddamn cats.
And I always thought that I was pretty even as far as like animal lover. Like I love all animals, but I'm like, I was too okay with this movie because if the cats were replaced with puppies, I wouldn't watch it and quit the show. Like it's just like puppies dangling and puppies' necks getting snapped, but it's like cat, they're kind of dicks.
They are though. That's the thing is like this movie is basically Stephen King being like, you know what? I have to atone for all the dogs that I've murdered in all of my books and movies. Let's kill a shitload of cats.
Yeah, let's get up to speed.
Last thing I have to say about this movie is that I do have to give them, well, two things. I have to give them props on the movie effects, like the actual, like the cat suits, you know, because I mean it's fun and they're kind of a little gooey. And I give them props for that, but this movie is kind of like a never again for. This is a hard never again for me. But
this is absolutely invite some friends over and watch a movie film for me. This is how I don't understand how you have any friends left. I have so many. That's the most.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It makes no sense to me. But, okay, I do have an alternate title for this movie. You ready?
Yeah.
Mom's side boob.
Hey everybody.
What's up?
I'm here too.
We are the Jersey Ghouls, a horror podcast based out of the Garden State. Join us on Jersey Ghouls for Marissa's scholarly conversations.
By the way, if you Google Psycho female, you definitely don't get the name of the actress from Psycho.
Join us on Jersey Ghouls for Nate's thrilling debate.
Why? Why are you so resistant against it?
Don't you start.
Join us on Jersey Ghouls for Jackie's love of 80s slasher movie Topless Scene.
Whoa, Jackie, this is a feminist podcast.
I know. I'm a woman. And as a woman, I appreciate a nice set of jugs.
Okay, but you shouldn't call them jugs.
Hooters? Bazungas? Tatas? Dirty pillows?
I like boobs too. Can I call them fun bags?
No! We're the Jersey Ghouls. You can find us on social media by searching Jersey Ghouls on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also find our blog and podcast on our website, jerseyghouls.com.
So what did you guys watch this week?
I watched the newest Insidious movie, which was terrible. They just spoiler alert for anyone that was going to watch the movie. Don't. They wanted to make it much more, I guess, darker with like actual people getting chained up, and they got so lost within themselves that they forgot to end the movie. So it was like, this is the biggest demon that this woman has ever fought. And she pretty much, at the end of the movie, I'm like, fuck, this is finally going to pay off. There's going to be a big fight scene or something. She blows the whistle, and this is not me making a joke or over-exaggerating. The ghost of her mother comes out and goes whoosh with her hand, and the demon flies away. And that is the end of Insidious Last Key that I spent $4 on because my girlfriend wanted to watch. So,
well, at least it was the last key. So
yeah, let's hope. Let's hope it was the last
for
key.
now.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it was very, very bad.
I heard good things about it though. That's what I don't understand is that like it seems to be that it's one of those really polarizing films for some odd reason, which makes no sense because it's Insidious. I don't feel like Insidious is like the mayonnaise of horror. Like, you know, it's like
I don't know. It just wasn't good. It didn't have any Tiny Tim in it, and it just wasn't good.
Damn shame.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think the more the Insidious, I think the first Insidious got a lot of appraisal. Like got a lot of appraisal. So like every movie after that just like insists upon itself, and it's just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, and I really liked the first Insidious, but I haven't seen any of the others.
No, it didn't make me want to go see any of the other ones. I just liked it standalone.
Yeah.
Well, I live in northeastern Ohio, so I don't need to watch Mushroom Head in a movie to live it.
Hell yeah! I finally I got the 4K restoration of Suspiria from Synapse, right? Yeah. And finally put that in, and holy shit! Man, it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. I mean, sure, it's an amazing movie. The first time I ever saw it was on regular DVD, and I think Synapse did that one too. I mean, years ago, and this one's been in the works for a while to get a good transfer of it. And I watched it with some friends who, my wife had seen it, but two other friends had never seen it before, and we like just turned all the lights off and threw the Blu-ray on, and it's stunning. Like if anybody was ever wondering like really the difference between Blu-ray quality and just like DVD quality, this is the movie that will blow your mind in how different they actually are. Because I was really skeptical like when originally, and like some movies still look like trash even if they're Blu-ray, but this is fucking gorgeous. So if anybody hasn't seen the restoration of it, it's worth scoping out.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, and it sounds like I work for that company. I don't. I was just really fucking impressed.
Who released that once more? I didn't think I heard you say.
You didn't hear me say. I want to make sure. I also think that might be wrong. No, it's right.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it was them. But man, it's gorgeous. I haven't watched any of the special features on it or anything, but it's a good looker.
So here's my problem with Suspiria. I really want to like that movie. I really, really want to like that movie, but I've just never been able to get into it. Maybe I just bite the bullet and try and check it out again.
I think it's a movie that's more fun to look at than to think about, because the plot is very like the plot's very lacking, but it is gorgeously shot.
Yeah, like 'cause we watched it inebriated, so that was really, that was helpful.
So what were you on? Was it just alcohol, or what should I imbibe to?
I think you have flexibility in anything. Black tar heroin's not that. I don't suggest that one. No, we were just all hanging around drinking, and it was more, I don't want to say it was on in the background, because like there were moments where we all were just like holy shit and like paying attention to it, but like any of those dull moments and those moments that are just kind of fleeting, we weren't focused on it trying to figure out what was going on. Like it had our attention, but more visually, and we just kind of let that vibe take over, because I love that movie to death, but there are times where I'm like, I could skip to the next scene, I could.
Well, it's kind of like just vignettes almost, at least from what I remember, is that like, since the plot is so threadbare, it's like.
And the more and more I watch it, the more and more I realize that too. It's like, I realize how thin the plot is, and how it's just like, I feel like we're just in rooms and sections of that school and of that environment, which is still great because I think they're so detailed, but it's also like, oh, so this conversation doesn't matter, or like whatever.
But I feel like that's everything he did.
Yes. I think besides maybe even besides Tenebra, which is so much just like a straightforward slasher in my mind, everything else has like really thin like strings through it, and even that one does, but that's just because it's a slasher movie anyway, so it's like I expected that.
I have two very different things that I want to talk about. One, I watched The Lure, which is a Polish Killer Mermaid musical.
Oh yeah,
it was very weird. I enjoyed it, and it kept me watching. I liked the music a lot. It kind of felt like it felt like Taxidermia, where it seemed like a very strong cultural break between American and like European sensibilities, and the way that the film was assembled and cut and things. But it's cool. It's basically like The Little Mermaid, but a horror movie almost. But it's not even like a full horror movie. It's kind of more. It has a very Rocky Horror Picture Show, Repo the Genetic Opera kind of vibe to it, but I enjoyed it more than both of those movies combined, which doesn't say a whole lot because I didn't really like either of those movies. But it's good. I would highly recommend watching it once. I don't know if I would buy it, but it's very pretty to look at. I liked the music a lot. I liked the story. Visuals were great. I felt a bit let down at the end just because it wasn't quite as violent of a movie as I was expecting, because it's more of like a drama, but it's still like a horror drama. I don't know. It's a hard movie to it's a genre movie is what it is. You know, like it's not straight horror, but it is a genre film. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of the spectrum, I watched the Power Rangers movie from last year.
Oh man.
It was a blast. I had the most fun watching that shit. Has anybody even thought about watching that?
I've been considering it. A bunch of different podcasts that I listen to, like We Hate Movies and Flophouse, all have talked about the movie, and at the end have been like, you know, despite we made fun of it a bunch, like this movie was way better than it had any right to be.
It was better than every episode, everything that you ever loved about any specific episode of Power Rangers. Times 100. Like it was a really, really entertaining. It's just a popcorn action flick, but I thought the pacing was great. I thought that the fan service was good without being too overbearing. The special effects were great. I fucking loved Rita Repulsa, and they're gonna do another one because she was the Green Ranger, and so then they're gonna get her power coin and they're gonna make the Green Ranger. You know, I mean, like I'm not even spoiling anything by telling you that. Like they're going to do another one. And I mean, Elizabeth Banks is just awesome. She's just awesome. So it was a really, really fun movie. I took everything at face value and left it all on the table at the end of the day. You know, like I didn't think about it after I watched it. I was just like, that was a blast. That was the trip. You know, like it's like an amusement park ride. It's total entertainment. You turn your brain off and you just enjoy it.
Well, funny that you mention Power Rangers.
Not funny at all. It was very, very much implied that this was coming.
Because before I talk about Power Rangers, I watched the movie Unsane. And I saw it when it came out in theaters, but I believe the DVD is going to be out by the time this episode comes out. And it's a very interesting, good movie. I don't know if it's something that I would ever own, but it is something that I recommend everyone at least watch maybe once. It's very intense. It's a very like stressful movie.
Is that the Soderbergh one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also, just because it ties in with cats, I saw Isle of Dogs. I watched Cats. No, I watched Isle of Dogs, which is probably the best movie that Wes Anderson has made in years. And
that's saying something, man.
I highly recommend it. It is very enjoyable. It will tug at your heartstrings. You will probably cry a few times, but you'll mostly be laughing your ass off. But I also watched episode 9 of the Power Rangers called For Whom the Bell Trolls. It's Hobby Week at school, and Trini shares her doll collections. This is high school reminder. Not making fun of Trini for having dolls, but because the fact that you're having Hobby Week at high school level. Her favorite doll is a creepy Barbie-sized troll called Mr. Tickle Sneezer. And Rita is jealous because she didn't get to play with dolls and vows revenge on Trini. And I'm not making that up. That is literally her motivation is, I didn't get to play with dolls when a little girl. I'm going to teach that Trini. As they're leaving class, the teacher says, don't forget your homework tonight is to read chapter 4 of your English books. Question marks. Why do we need them? It's 10:30 by the time Trini is done putting all of these dolls away. And Rita brings the doll to life and takes him to the moon. And he sounds like a dim-witted cartoon sidekick. Like every time he talks, he's just like, oh, geez, I don't know, Rita. So he starts collecting goodies like motorcycles and buildings and cars with Billy and Trini inside of it and shrinking them down into these little bottles. And this is when I realized that Skull of Bulk and Skull fame looks exactly like Chris Kattan. Tinkle Sneezer trips and drops the bottle with Billy and Trini in it, and it lands on some train tracks. But they're able to save the bottle and open it and bring them back to normal size. And Jesus Christ, this episode is extremely boring. Additionally, the Power Rangers fight footage looks like it's about 20 years older than the rest of the episode. So this must have been an early episode of the original show. The Megazord gets sucked into the bottle, but they immediately are just like, yo, let's summon that sword, which scares the troll into dropping the bottle, and they come back out of it again within 30 seconds. It is the least, tense thing possible.
Except since last week.
Yeah. Well, and then we find out that this was all a dream, and Trini was just having a nightmare that Rita would turn her beloved troll doll against her.
So high school is with a hobby week is a dream, or do they also still have that in real life?
The hobby week was real. The hobby week was real because the post-credit sequence is Bulk and Skull's presentation for hobby week, and that's where we find out that their real names are Farkas and Eugene.
Oh my god.
That's right. I remember that.
Oh, that's brutal.
So that's
wonder they're bullies.
Yeah, that easily of the 9 episodes I've watched so far, the worst episode of Power Rangers. That was Sleepwalkers from 1992, as picked by a bunch of you, but specifically Big Yanks and Robbie. Thank you so much for submitting a bunch of your movie ideas. We are obviously taking any movie ideas at any time. The next one of these is going to be in September, so start getting those emails sent to us at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. Check out the HMN Podcast Facebook group, our website. We've got a Spotify list now. We've got an Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're doing all of that shit, and we're doing it hard. And finally, we got to take a second to mention, hit up the Patreon account, people. Patreon.com/HMN Podcast, because that's where you're going to get all of these sweet-ass bonus episodes like the Wicker Man episode that came out. And we are going to be doing Adventure of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension for June. So strap in. We're going to have a great time. Thank you, Kyle, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week, right?
Memory all alone in the moonlight. Yeah, I'll be here.
All right. Thank you so much, my man.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.